Welcome to another edition of Mark's Inspiration. Glad you could join me here today as always, and it's a sunny day in St. Louis, Missouri today. Glad you're all here with me this morning, or this afternoon, or evening, wherever in the hell you are in the world today. Today I'm going to talk about fear, or anxiety, there's a lot of different words for it, but it always boils down to fear. Procrastination is fear. Resentment sometimes is fear. If you resent someone, that anger keeps you safe. If you're angry at them, you won't open yourself up to them to allow them to do whatever it was they did to you to hurt you. But actually, they didn't hurt you. No one can hurt you unless you give them permission to do that. I know that's hard to believe, but it's true. I've been hurt before, but have I really? No, I allowed myself to be hurt, or I allowed myself to feel hurt. Most of the times people don't get up in the morning and think about how they're going to go out and make Joe angry today. They just happen to be driving down the road and they cut Joe off and Joe's angry. And Joe goes around being resentful all day. And who does that resentment hurt? It hurts Joe, because the guy that cut Joe off probably doesn't even know that he cut him off. But yet Joe's going around stewing about this crazy driver that cut him off. So resentment is fear, because Joe doesn't want that to happen again. So he thinks if he stays angry and resentful at all drivers who are all crazy, he'll be more cautious and it won't happen to him again. It's a fallacy, but I've done it before. I think we've all done it. Someone hurts us in a relationship and we cut ourselves off. Maybe we start to shut ourselves down to all women. We start to think all women are bad because 1 or 2 or 3 or 5 or 7 or 10 of them didn't do what we wanted them to do. And that's what it amounts to. When people don't act as we think they should act, they don't treat us the way we think they should treat us, or they rip us off or whatever, we don't like it. They didn't do what we wanted them to do. We think if only the world would behave, if only people would do as I wished, everything would be great. Life would be wonderful. But what usually happens, it doesn't turn out quite that way, and we become angry. A good thing to do is ask yourself, how many times have you done something that hurt someone else's feelings that you know of? And how many times have you done something that probably hurt someone's feelings that you don't know of? Many times. Did you do it on purpose? No, you didn't. We all make mistakes. We all do things that make other people feel hurt, slighted, ignored, and ad infinitum, something. We cannot be rubbing elbows with the humanity unless we're making some people angry and making some people happy, making some people sad. But I don't even like to use the word making, because you don't really make anybody feel anything. Everything is felt from the inside. But this is the way we describe it with our vocabulary here. We really don't make anybody feel anything. Well, I guess if I walked up to someone with a knife or a club or a gun and I shot them or cut them, they would feel pain, of course. And you would obviously think that I made them feel the pain. But that's not true either, because they feel the pain inside of them. I inflicted that, and that really gets into some kind of deep things that I really don't know how to explain. But the point is, when you're emotionally hurt, you chose to feel hurt. Let's say, for example, you're married and you find out your wife's cheating on you. I mean, you're devastated. You don't cheat on her, and you don't expect that she is going to cheat on you. So you feel devastated, which is normal. Okay, but let's say the same scenario. You find out your wife's cheating on you, but you've been having an affair for the last 1.5 years, and you want to get out of the marriage, but you just didn't want to hurt her feelings. So you find out actually she's being with someone else. She doesn't want to be with you either. So actually you're happy. So is it the situation or how you perceive it? Obviously it's how you perceive it. And back to fear. Fear, there would be a fear there. If you're afraid that your wife's going to cheat on you or your girlfriend, you will do things unknowingly to make it happen. Maybe you'll be suspicious. You'll start asking her questions. You'll start watching her. Maybe you check up on her. These things will drive a person to create the situation which you fear. You become co-creators with the person. And that's how fear can destroy the things that you want in life. Let me tell you a little bit about fear in my life, okay? When I was younger, I of course was afraid, like a lot of us, to approach a girl. But give me a couple drinks, and I didn't care. I didn't care what she said. I didn't care if she rejected me. I could just walk away. I'll go talk to another one. But trying to do it without alcohol was a whole different ball game because the alcohol lowered my inhibitions. And it worked for a long time. It worked very well for a very long time, and then it didn't work. And then I had to learn how to do these things without the alcohol. Every time that I've competed in sports, before the event, for example, when I was fighting, when I was boxing, or when I just got into street fights. Well, most of the time I was drinking when I got into street fights, so I didn't feel the fear as much. But let's say when I was amateur boxing and professional boxing, the fear was so intense, more of being humiliated, not so much of losing the fight. I just didn't want to get up in front of people and be beat up and look like a fool. So that was my pride and my ego. So I would train so hard in the gym that I didn't fight as much as a lot of the other fighters because I was always hurt. My coach used to tell me, you don't need to come here every day and work out like that every day. But I thought, I kind of went to the thinking of the grind. One more rep, one more round, one more mile. And there's some wisdom in that, but then again, for people like me, I need to have a coach to tell me not to do another mile, to stop. Because later on I learned if I would just go to the gym 3 days a week, and the other, say Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and spar and work out for an hour, hour and a half, and the other 2 days I would just shadow box and visualize. I was a better fighter. I was injured less. It didn't make sense, but it does now. At that time, it didn't make sense. How could I work out less but be a better fighter? Because I was working out too much. We do too much. I did a show last night. I had Drew the Human come in from Salt Lake City, Utah. He's a dating and relationship expert, and I had him on the show. Now, before the show, I was nervous, and I thought, well, maybe he won't show up, or maybe the car will break down. All these things go through your head because of fear. I don't know what you're afraid of or what I'm afraid of, but it was the same thing before I fought. But once I got in there and got punched in the face, and once I got the show started last night, it all goes away. And the greatest thing about facing that fear, and it is fear, and it's okay to admit you have fear. The great thing about facing that fear is when you're done, the show's over, I'm exhilarated. I feel like $1 million. I feel fulfilled, I feel happy, I feel completed. And the show doesn't always have to go off that great, or the race. I don't have to win the race. I have won a few. I don't win the fight. If I win or if I don't win, actually the victory is in facing the fear and overcoming it. Regardless of the outcome of the event, of whatever you're doing, you face the fear. Now that's not to say if you get beat up, and I've been beat up a few times, that you don't feel bad about losing the fight, but you feel better than if you would have backed out. Let's say last night I would have called up my guest and said, hey, we can't do this tonight because something happened to the equipment. The cameras aren't working. Of course, that would have been a lie, but I would have felt like crap about myself. Or even if the car would have broken down and he couldn't have got here on time, I wouldn't have had the elated feeling of joy and exhilaration that I had after the show was over and I took him back to his hotel. We had a wonderful conversation. Anytime you face fear and you overcome it or step through it, you're going to feel much better than if you back away from it. And I have backed away before, and I felt like crap in certain things. But I'm just telling you that anytime you set some kind of a goal and you have to take these certain steps to get there, whenever you have an obstacle, which is usually fear, you're going to feel much better if you step through it. Everything you desire in life is on the other side of what you're afraid to do. Now, I go to bid jobs for clients. The bigger the job we're doing right now is the biggest job my company's ever had. I started bidding on that in the spring. I wasn't sure how to bid on it, and it was a different product, different wood I've never had any experience with, but I researched it and did what I could do, and I bid the best I could. We amended the bid 2 or 3 times, and I got the contract. But after I got the contract, I was thinking, geez, do I really want this? Am I going to lose my butt on this thing? Well, but once I went there to start the job, for some reason, it didn't look near as big and near as intimidating. It was a completely different building, but it was the same building. So these perceptions we build up in our mind are built up through the filter of fear. And you have to learn that you can't trust your conscious mind, because it starts giving you all the reasons why you can't do this or you shouldn't do that. Your conscious mind is connected very much with your ego, and it wants to keep you safe. Well, you stay nice and safe if you stay home in front of the computer or in front of the TV and you never get out there and do anything, but you don't have much of a life. And I guarantee you have no fulfillment in your life. A man needs adventure. He needs excitement. He needs risk. I say sometimes we're making everything so safe here in the U.S. that we're killing ourselves with safety. And what I mean by that is, look, people have to go out and skydive. They have to take these, I was watching this Man of War thing the other day where these guys actually go there. It's kind of like a boot camp, but they don't call it a boot camp. And they really have to do some tough, hard things. And some guys break down and they don't make it through. It lasts for several days. But we're so safe and so comfortable here in the U.S. now, we have to create things like that for men to become men and to do what men really need to do to have fulfillment, to feel like a man and to take your place as a man here in our world, because everything's so safe. I believe in safety, of course. So my company, we take precautions, we do the things the safe way, but still, there's always going to be a risk. When you get in your car and drive to the city, there's going to be other cars out there. You have faith that those cars will stay on their side of the road. Most of the time they do. But if they don't, it may cause an accident. You're risking that when you do that. Now, kids always have to wear a helmet, shin guards, and all this on bicycles. Now, I'm not saying these things aren't good, but it's like, do kids even climb trees anymore? I wonder if that's not against the law. No, I'm sure it's not. But I don't see any kids climbing trees. I don't see kids digging in the dirt anymore. I don't see kids playing like they did when I was a kid. All these things, you end up getting hurt, you get scuffed up, you skin your knee, all these things. We didn't go to the doctor every time that happened. As my kids are growing up in school, I see where they're really pushed to go to the doctor every time they get so much as a scratch or something. And all the shots they give my children too, from fear. Okay, they're afraid they're going to get this, and this. And they have to have these shots. They have to have a tetanus shot and boosters before they will allow them to go to public school. Now think about this. If you get tetanus, it can kill you. And I have a tetanus shot and I got a booster. I'm not against that. But it's not contagious. So why do they make our children take all these shots? Fear? I'm not sure about that, but they have to have all these shots or they can't go to school. Now, I understand polio and different shots like that. My brother got the polio shot and he actually had a form of polio from the shot for about a year. He couldn't walk very well. But see, we're trying to keep everybody safe. Everybody's got to stay safe. So then we have to go out and bungee jump, as I said, skydive, do these extreme sports, because as men, we have this feeling, we have this desire that we want to risk. We want to live on the edge. I've heard the people say, the soldiers, some of them in Vietnam, said they felt most alive when they were in country, when they were in where the fighting was. Because to feel alive, sometimes you have to face death, or at least face danger. And as I said, we've made everything so safe, and continue to do so, in the United States here anyway, that men don't feel alive. They go to work, they sit in their cubicle or whatever they do, and then they come home and watch the TV. They don't even have to get up to change the channel. They're too comfortable. If you live in your comfort zone, you will never achieve the desires you have within yourself. You have to stay out of your comfort zone. And in the country we live in here in the U.S., that really takes an enormous effort. That's something you have to consciously focus on, staying out of your comfort zone. Do things that make you feel uncomfortable. Go to the store next time and just sit down in the middle of the floor. Yeah, people's going to look at you and they're going to think you're crazy. but you will feel uncomfortable doing it. I know that sounds silly, but what I'm talking about is doing something every day that scares you, that you're afraid to do. It doesn't have to be anything big. It can be going up and talking to the gas station attendant. Maybe you have social anxiety because you don't talk to anybody all day. The only time you converse with people is through a computer or through a screen. Guess what? Doing it in real life is a little more frightening, but it's a lot more fulfilling. I know I've had to sit in the house sometimes during the day and work at the desk. I don't get out. But if I go out and just talk to people I don't know, it's great. Well, for example, last night when Drew came from Salt Lake City, I flew him in here, and when my son picked him up at the hotel. Of course I'm nervous. I'm meeting someone that I've never met in person before, but I got to meet someone that I normally wouldn't meet, and I get to learn things about him and what he knows. It's just a different, I had talked to him online before, of course, through Messenger, but to meet someone, there's a certain energy that you don't get from sitting behind a computer screen, because there's a certain anxiety there when you meet someone new. Okay, and these things make you feel alive. This gets you out of your comfort zone. So, as I said, do something every day that scares you and believe something wonderful is going to happen for you today. That's one of my affirmations I say. I believe something wonderful is going to happen for me today. Say it with emotion. Say your affirmations with emotions and believe it. I read the other day that if you spend half the energy in saying your affirmations and thinking about what you want, and speaking about what you want, as you do when you complain about what you don't like, your life would be magnificent. And I find that true too. I catch myself complaining. I think about what I read there. And it's so true that if you just focus on what you want with emotion, try not to think about what you don't want. And I recommend, as I always do, don't watch the news. The news is negative. And what do? They tell you about all the things that are going on in the world that you don't want. Why would you need to know that? I don't need to know if 15 kids were brutally murdered and cut up in pieces in the South China Sea. I'm sorry that happened. It's a horrible thing, but horrible things have been going on since man has been on this planet. But I can't do anything about it. So why do I need to get a picture of that in my mind? Do I want more of that in my life? No. Then I don't need to be visualizing how that may have happened. Another thing is, if you watch a lot of horror movies or brutal killing movies or murder movies, which most of them are nowadays, repeated watching of these types of shows impresses upon your subconscious mind that these things happen all the time. And these things also will bring on fear of going out. Our country is one of the safest countries in the world. And it depends where you go, of course. But like all countries, there's places you know to go and not to go. But then again, you have to focus on what you want. Do you want these horrible, terrible things to happen to you that you see on the news, in the movies, on social media? I tell my kids they'll be watching a guy skateboarding down the road, and he'll be going really fast, and he'll hit something, and he'll fall off, and he'll get all skinned up. And it makes you, oh, you kind of go like that. That's an emotional response that imprints your subconscious mind. And if you watch enough of those things, it's like planting seeds. You'll bring something on to yourself where you'll get hurt. I know that's hard to believe, but everything that happens in your outside world first happens within you, and then it impresses on your subconscious, which is connected to universal intelligence, God if you like, and brings these things into your life. You have to be careful what you're thinking about. Don't think about what you fear, think about what you desire, and you will bring more of that into your life. I'm done, man. Thanks for joining me. Like and subscribe. I'll see you later.